What's up, guys? It's EDA here. I'm going to be doing a review of the Man City versus Arsenal game, a clash between two of the best teams in the league. And guys, what can you say? Tense game, tense game, especially after Liverpool had beaten Brighton, coming back from a goal down as they have so many times in deconstructing the title race. And in the shot I had on Liverpool, Reds never die. They have a spirit about them. They have a fight about them that not many teams have, and you've got to give the plaudits to Liverpool winning that game, a tough game against a Brighton team that know how to play good football. But coming into the game, Man City and Arsenal knew whoever won this game would be in pole position to either be level with Liverpool in Arsenal's case or be 1 point behind in Man City's case. And so it was all to play for. As mentioned, the game ended 0-0. It was a tense game, a defensive game. It was one I actually wanted to spend a little bit more time thinking on instead of jumping in the chair and reacting and giving my thoughts and opinions fresh out of the game. I actually wanted to sit on how I was feeling coming out of the game. This bag of feelings like a lot of fans would have had, thinking that I was really proud of the team for how we performed defensively. Every player really performed well from a defensive standpoint. We'll go into individual performances soon. I felt that we lacked the cutting edge required to win a game like that in the way we played. So when Arsenal and Man City play each other, because their styles are relatively similar, obviously there's nuances and there's slightly different philosophies within each team. But Mikel comes from the coaching tree of Pep, and he's got similarities in his play style. They both do. When those matchups happen, and you've seen it over the whole of the season, the Community Shield game, the home game at the Emirates against Man City, you also saw it at this game as well. They're very tense games. You can't really compare these games with Man City versus Liverpool or Arsenal versus Liverpool. It's just a different sense of styles and a different clash of styles when these two meet. So I knew from the get-go that this is going to be a tense game. This is going to be a hard game. This is going to be a game which will be defined by individual brilliance or an error. And we had neither. We had no kind of glaring errors that led to a goal, and we had no moments of absolute individual brilliance that won a game. And so at the end of the day, yeah, fair result. I would say 0-0. Arsenal were under the cosh for large amounts of that game. Not to my surprise, I thought we would have had a little bit more dominance, but Pep knew certain aspects of our play style which can be exploited or can allow for certain pressure to be put on the team. For example, pushing his fullbacks higher than he would normally, meaning that Saka and Jesus have decisions on who they're going to mark. Are they going to mark the fullback? Are they going to come inside and try and block the passing lanes with this on the centre backs? If Akanji's stepping up, do they need to be cognizant of that? How do Odegaard and Kai react to that movement as well? How does Rodri and his movement probably pull them apart as well? Who's got an eye for Kevin De Bruyne, Declan Rice? So there was a lot to think about, a lot of games within a game. And so, yeah, tense. City had chances, nothing which really felt clear cut and put David Raya under pressure. It was more half chances and bitty chances. From an Arsenal perspective, when they did strike it, most of those chances fell to Gabriel Jesus. A combination of the team putting him in a good position and a combination of him putting himself in positions where he could, measure and find a little bit of space to get a shot off. He had like 2 or 3 occasions where he had situations like that. For me, I don't want to be too critical, but I feel like he should be doing better, and I'm judging him to the standards that I judge any and every Arsenal striker by. Whether we're talking about Lacazette, whether we're talking about Aubameyang, whether we're talking about Thierry Henry, Ian Wright, the levels are the levels at Arsenal. I expect my main striker to be getting 20 plus league goals in a season. Call it unrealistic if you want to, but at Arsenal, with the lineage of strikers that we've had, I can reel them off if you want. We have certain aspirations and demands, and if you're not, scoring 20 goals in the league, cool. 15 goals, 5 assists or 7 assists. Push the boundaries. Deliver, show you're a star player, not a bit part player. And I think Gabriel Jesus, for all his quality, I feel like he hasn't hit his potential, and this was a key opportunity for him to do that at Arsenal. So it's a little disappointing, but again, no real qualms with any of the players, but just think that was an opportunity missed from that standpoint. So as mentioned, looking at individual performances and key moments in the game, obviously we've mentioned the appearances of Rodri, who was dynamic throughout the game. From a Man City standpoint, it almost felt like a battle of two of the best sixes in the Premier League, probably in the world, arguably. Rodri, Declan Rice, both for their respective teams, were instrumental in trying to control that midfield. Felt like we didn't see enough from De Bruyne and Haaland. One thing I've mentioned and seen from Haaland is, again, I kind of spoke about it in the combined 11 that we did. Make sure to watch that video of all of the teams in the title race. He doesn't look the same as he did last season. And whether it's how Man City are creating no opportunities or whether it's how he's finishing or getting into those positions, but something's not quite clicking as it had been last season. Saliba, Gabriel, amazing. I'm going to say it right now. I've said it in previous videos. Love Footmob, a brilliant hub for information, but the ratings are not something I stand upon. Gabriel was immense to me. He was my man of the match in the game. Saliba just a notch behind there. Ben White, amazing. Kivior had some shaky moments, but altogether was solid enough. Bernardo Silva is such a tricky player to defend. He's one of my favourite players, and he's one of my favourite players for a reason. Low centre of gravity, tricky, can go inside, can go outside. He has it all, and I think he's an unsung hero of Man City as well. I would love to see him at an Arsenal team, if I'm being honest with you. Declan Rice, as mentioned, was all across the pitch, was dynamic in so many areas, and you've got to give your hats off to him as well. Jorginho, I think, had a little bit of a lesser game in his kind of compared to his standards, and I think that kind of shown when he was taken off for partying, which we'll cover briefly. Odegaard, again, worked harder than anybody I've seen in recent history, but the end product wasn't there. Multiple opportunities to slip through teammates, and it was missing. And I think there's, again, an element I've spoken about before. Odegaard has creativity, but is his creativity akin or alike the creativity that you see from a De Bruyne or an Ozil or those true 10s? I'm not sure. And there was a question raised of, because he works so hard in defending and tracking back and pressing, does he sometimes not have the energy to deliver that final ball? Because that's something that we need to be aware of as fans and potentially from a coaching side as well. Saka was a little bit missing during the game, to be honest with you. Guardiola, I would say, dealt with him pretty easy. And yeah, that's something to look at, because last couple of games, Porto, Man City, Saka hasn't been at his best, and we're hoping that those levels will increase as we go forward. Kai worked hard again, like Odegaard, but wasn't involved enough. We didn't create enough chances, but he put himself about, and that meant that Diaz was always kind of aware of what was going on, and he had a couple of battles with Kai during the game. Gabriel Jesus, as mentioned, had a couple of chances which he should have put away, but he was the best of the three in terms of attacking intent. Spoken about Man City a little bit. Want to give my hats off to Guardiola. I think he was amazing, if I'm being honest. Kovacic, I think, was good for his standards. Foden went missing during the game, similar to Saka, to be honest with you. I don't see the differences between their performances, if I'm honest with you. So that was the game as a whole, and it was end to end. There was a couple of opportunities, as mentioned. We'll talk about the subs as we discuss those. Leo came off the bench, and he had a great opportunity to slot through Martinelli, who also came on a little bit later. He decided to progress with the ball and take a shot, and it probably wasn't the best idea, but it's hard to really criticise when you're not sure what he could see at that moment, what he deemed to be on at that moment, and so can't take anything away from those guys either and their performances. Would have liked to see Martinelli a little bit early, but I think Mikel knew he didn't have a lot in the tank, and so he wasn't going to risk him longer than that. Thomas Partey and Tomiyasu, the same subs that Mikel made in the home game, and I saw some people complaining, like, why is he bringing on Partey, why is he bringing on Tommy? It's the same subs he did at the Emirates. It's the same subs that helped us win, and both players were involved in the winning goal, so I have no issue with bringing in on those players, considering that Kivior had been susceptible at times and Jorginho didn't have the best of games. I had no issue with those players coming on. Partey had a really good game. His ability to find Odegaard and his ability to break the lines with his passing is something that neither Declan Rice or Jorginho have to that degree or to that frequency. He found Odegaard a number of different times, just breaking the lines, just ambitious passing, whatever you want to call it. He showed a level that was required. Doku came off the bench for Man City. Grealish as well. That double sub was, it looked a bit petrifying seeing both quality wingers coming off the bench. Jack was able to win a couple of free kicks on his side, and I think that really was too dangerous. Doku got into the box a couple of times. The ball went across the face of the goal a couple of times, but again, nothing too serious from an Arsenal perspective. And yeah, I think everyone who came to the bench put in a decent shift. No one went crazy. No one was poorer than expected. And so I think each team put a good showing of themselves out there. In terms of the momentum, again, as mentioned, Man City controlled majority of the game. It would have been good to see Arsenal take a bigger foothold in the game. And the way I looked at it from before the game happened, and knowing Arsenal and knowing how they go get up against these teams, and also the Man City versus Liverpool game. Man City started hot for the first 30 minutes against Liverpool, and I thought it would be similar against Arsenal. And so for me, Arsenal's best opportunities were the last 15 minutes of each half. I think that they could have taken greater control, especially at the end of the game, of trying to probably push the ball out a little bit more. However, a loss at the Etihad yesterday would have been crushing to spirits, would have been crushing to the title race. And so Arsenal lives to fight another day. Man City seems will fight another day, and they will all be looking at the leaders of the Premier League, Liverpool, as the sign of the team who they need to match and who they hope will drop some points. Quickly touching on Liverpool, again, they had their game very, very briefly with Brighton. Came back from a goal down from Welbeck, and again, no surprise. As soon as Diaz scored, I knew Liverpool were going to win. No doubt. They have that hunger. They have that fight. They will knock it on the door, and it would have been tougher for a number of other teams, let me tell you that. Watched the game and was highly impressed. Diaz, amazing. Salah obviously doing his job. Bradley, I love the guy. He went up against Adingra, who I think, again, deserves a high rating. We're going to ignore the football ratings. That was a brilliant battle between two quality young players, and Liverpool have a right back who will allow Trent to play in midfield. Where he fits in on this midfield is going to be very interesting, because I think McAllister and Endo works hard. McAllister works hard. They really do, and so it'll be interesting to see the dynamic, because you've got the technical nuance from Szoboszlai and from Trent, and it may be, in the more attacking games you go with one of Endo or McAllister, and then in the lesser games you go with one of Szoboszlai or Trent to kind of get that balance in midfield. It's going to be very interesting to see how they go forward if Conor Bradley does stick that position at right back, and really impressed. And I just want to say very briefly, I'm really impressed with how Klopp is leaving Liverpool. It was one of my big criticisms about Sir Alex Ferguson. The way he left Man United was in a position where the squad was weak, and no manager on God's green earth was going to take that Man United team and win the Premier League again. They're not Sir Alex. They don't have that makeup about them. And so, yeah, I really respect how Klopp has left Liverpool, and he may just leave them with a Premier League title. And if they win it, it will be one that is richly deserved. I believe that they are, again, watch the Deconstructing the Title Race video to get my full breakdown on each three teams. But Liverpool's fighting spirit is crazy. And when you look at them and their team, second best defence and the second best attack, just behind Arsenal. And the difference between them and Arsenal is that Arsenal look better defensively, look probably a little bit worse attacking wise, are performing better in all those metrics, XG against, XG difference, great. But one thing the stats don't pick up is that fighting spirit, is that never die spirit. And Arsenal didn't show that never die spirit against Fulham. They didn't show that never die spirit against West Ham at home. They didn't show it against Aston Villa. They didn't show it against Newcastle. And so if Liverpool win it by 2 points, if Liverpool win and Arsenal come second, what's the difference then? Because Arsenal have taken 4 points out of 6 from Liverpool. They've taken 4 points out of 6 from Man City. The difference is that fighting spirit, that ability to say never die. And I'm not saying that Arsenal don't have it, but if Arsenal go down in a game, it's a very different outcome or outlook than when Liverpool go down. Very, very different. Vastly different. And it's because Liverpool have a track record where they know if we go down, we're coming back. We are coming back, especially at home. We're coming back. And so there's got to be a lot of praise on their side. 3 great teams fighting it out, as mentioned. Please make sure to watch the deconstructing the title race videos. Really nuanced analysis on 3 of the sides which are involved in the title race. And going into game week 30, it's gonna be hellacious. I mean, Liverpool and Arsenal, you would expect to come out with wins against Sheffield United or Luton, but nothing is guaranteed. Man City have the toughest game against Aston Villa. And I feel like this will be the perfect time to see Man City just drift away. I think they are the 3rd best this season, if I'm being honest with you. They are an amazing team. They've still got quality. But I would love to see Arsenal and Liverpool fight out to the death. Man City have had their fun, and it would be good to see Arsenal and Liverpool challenge all the way to the finish. But we shall see. The best team will win at the end of the day, and it will be one of the 3. So, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this review. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. We've got football, we've got basketball, we've got boxing, we've got MMA, we've got wrestling, we've got it all. So make sure to subscribe. I'm sure there's something that you'll find that you can watch and like, and hopefully I'll hear from you guys soon. Peace.